Let's move in now into the final team, and that is going to be the San Antonio Spurs at 11. We have talked about this team before, but it's always been outside of the lottery. It is weird to see them in the lottery. I couldn't tell you the last time that they were there. I think it probably had to be.
Was it Tim Duncan?
No way.
Manu?
Maybe Manu.
No,
in
Manu was
2000?
second round, wasn't
Let's
he?
see. The last time they were in the
No, I
lottery.
think Tony was second. Wasn't he? Oh, no, maybe he wasn't. Walker, 18, 29, 29,
Tim Duncan,
26,
number 1.
30. Really?
Yeah, because
they've been in the playoffs 20 years.
From Duncan on, it was...
Like, it's been 20 years of playoffs.
So it was 24 in 98.
Yeah,
99, they didn't have a first. 2000, they didn't have a first. 2001, they didn't have a first. 2001, they took Tony Parker at 28. Yeah. 22 was John Salmons at 26. And Leandro Barbosa at 28. No, 28, that was 2003. Barbosa was 2003. No first rounder in 04. 05 was Mahimi at 28. Then their next one was Tiago Splitter in 2007, 28. George Hill at 26. James Anderson at 20. Corey Joseph at 29. 28, 30, 26, 29. 18 and 19 were their highest. And that was 18, 19 with Walker and Samanic.
Don't get me wrong. Like I've always known that like the Spurs run has been impressive, but putting it that way just makes it somehow more impressive. So shout out to the Spurs. This is their first lottery pick since Tim Duncan. They obviously back then, when they had David Robinson went out. They lucked into the number 1 overall pick, got the big fundamental. Let's start there, I guess. Dave, if they get the number 1 overall pick, what player are they taking here? Is it Wiseman? Is it Ball? Or is it Edwards? Which team fits them the most?
Oh, it's Wiseman. It's not even close. Like it's just a boop, Wiseman. That's our guy. That's the dynamic big man of the future. Like it's the perfect pairing because I don't know if they're ready to give up on DeJounte Murray as their point guard of the future. They gave him an extended contract. I feel like he's had that progression, but he's not, ascended into like the elite level of point guard. Yes, defensively he's still a monster, but like offensively he's still got to continue to work to grow his skill set. So I think Wiseman is the clear and away best fit. If they had concerns about their shooting guard position, you could consider Anthony Edwards. I like him the least. Can I just be honest? I like him the least out of like my top 5 even. I don't know if in my next mock draft he will be like top 3.
Because there's nothing special. There's nothing special about him in my mind.
It's hard to find that one thing that he stands out at that makes him special. Like you said, that he excels at, he dominates a game, he can take over. What is that thing that he brings to my team that's going to help me win games? And I'm having struggles finding it. Thankfully, we've got plenty of time because they're reconsidering the draft date for the NBA.
Yeah, it's August.
Yep. So we might have a lot more draft coverage coming forward. But no, I think of that top 3, it's got to be Wiseman. It has to be Wiseman. Yeah.
No, for me, it's the same. Like, Wiseman's the clear pick.
Why so? Ricky?
Just the same. Like, because I look at the 1, and you've got, although coming off of injury history with DeJounte Murray, but you have your 1. You have your 2 with DeMar DeRozan. Jakob Poeltl's your 5 right now. Who's a better 5 for me to have? Jakob Poeltl or James Wiseman? I'm going to go with James Wiseman. Where the other 2 are like mixing time with other players. I know that there's different combinations that you can do, but James Wiseman, you can come in, put him ahead of Yaka, and he can help the team more than Ball and Edwards meshing with DeRozan and Murray.
Yeah, I think, and obviously it's going to be a little bit interesting because DeMar has a player option, so it's not for certain that he's going to be on the team next year. LaMarcus is going to be on the team for $24 million. Rudy Gay going to be on the team for $14 million. Patty Mills going to be around for $13.2 million. Trey Lyles is a non-fully guaranteed 5.5, but he played fairly well in the minutes that he got. Lonnie Walker 2.8, Luka Samanic 2.8 as well. DeJounte Murray 14.2. His extension's kicking in next year. Keldon Johnson $2 million, and then you got Derek White for 3.5 and Chimezi Matu 1.6. So really, this is a team that's looking at a fairly fresh slate coming up. The only players that they have under contract in 21-22 is Lonnie Walker's got a team option, Samanich has a team option, Keldon Johnson has a team option, and then DeJounte Murray. So really, that's the only team that has, really the only guys that they have, future wise. So they really are looking at a fresh slate here, Ricky. I think that you have to find that piece though, and I think that might end up just being LaMelo Ball. I mean, we talk about, you can't win having a big man as your best player. And Edwards is obviously a great scorer, but I don't know if he fits in with that team. LaMelo Ball, I know people are going to bring up, his father and the way that, he acts, but LaMelo Ball is shown to be, I think, a little bit more different than his father. I don't know if, people are going to necessarily agree with that, but I think if you put him in that situation in San Antonio, that could be a really great piece to start this San Antonio rebuild and try to bring them back to playoff prominence. I think LaMelo Ball is probably actually the best building piece out of any of these three players. And I think that if I'm, number one overall, I'm probably taking LaMelo Ball just because there isn't that much of a clear future for San Antonio. If they're trying to win, then yes, I think Wiseman's their best fit, but LaMelo Ball and this team could be their future star that they really don't have right now.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that I kind of think about is, and this kind of plays into it, is how long is Pop going to be there? Because the question I wonder then is if Pop's going to be there for a couple years down the line, is Popovich, does I don't want to ask it that way, but does all the baggage that could potentially come with LaMelo Ball intrigue Popovich? Like, would Popovich be like, okay, I can work with this. Or would Popovich be like, you know what? That's too much of a headache. I'm going to go with a little bit of a surer pick that can help us. I think that plays into it a little bit. Although it doesn't, to me, make the decision of like, I'm not saying LaMelo Ball's like a cancer or anything and you shouldn't draft him, but I wonder if that plays into it is if LaMelo can be a Popovich guy.
Sorry about that, guys.
I don't know if Pop is even going to be there a long time, but the idea of the Spurs, I think that you can iron that stuff out. I mean, you'd have to buy into the culture of the Spurs, and that's something that people consistently talk about is, you kind of lose your personality, and that's what Kawhi was talking about, was that he didn't feel like he truly was ever into the Spurs culture, and that's why he ended up pulling away from Pop. But I do think that if I'm looking to, really take over this team, I think that LaMelo has to be the pick here, just because if Pop isn't there, going on in the future, this is still a players' league, and if LaMelo Ball turns out to be that good of a player, I think that it ends up being worth it if he's going to be your franchise leader. I don't think we have Dave. I think Dave's still dealing with internet issues.
I'm back.
So I'm not going to
still think you can hear me.
Is Box lighting up green? Is he talking?
Yes, I can hear him. Sean cannot hear you.
Sean
can't, but I can, Dave.
I'm running off my phone right now.
I think the Twitch can hear him. So Dave, if you want to talk, I'll disconnect. Let's give that a shot. So Dave, what do you think about LaMelo Ball to the Spurs? Would it work?
I think it could work. I think there's a lot of, from when I jumped back in, I heard a lot of concerns about, personality wise, fit the culture of the Spurs. But I almost think that almost could work out really in his favor as a best possible location, because it is that situation where you're not getting national spotlight. You're not drawing all of the media to, constant interviews, constant talks. It just seems like he is not his dad. He's tried to separate that personality that's floating out there, and I think that it could work out really well because offensively, he gives them someone else who can create for everybody and create for himself. They had to rely really heavily on DeMar DeRozan the last 2 years to be not only a wing but also a point guard, but also this. They've really been lucky to have someone like that, but there are holes in DeRozan's game, as we all know. His resistance against the 3-point shot kind of hurts the spacing. They've got two old school players in their team with Aldridge and DeRozan. So if he does re-sign there, they'll still have that option. But I think Ball could fit in really well. And I think if there's anyone who could get the most out of him, it would be the Spurs. We always joked about it's, that back half of the first round, it would be a dream if he went to the Spurs. I think they could unlock him. I think they could find the best way to use him. And, they don't give young kids a lot of shots early on in their career because it's kind of like an earn it kind of situation down there. But I think LaMelo Ball would thrive in that situation.
So Dave, I do want to ask you though, because you were on the side of Wiseman is the number one overall pick. Why Wiseman then over LaMelo Ball? If you think that Ball could end up fitting into the Spurs culture and system,
because I feel like Pop is already kind of locked in with DeJounte Murray. I feel like he's picked his guy, and he might not take every opportunity that presents itself because he's so locked in. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into loyalty in that system. But it just feels to me like that's something Pop might do. Plus, they definitely have an issue at the 5. I know you love Jakob Poeltl, but like, no, they need adding James Wiseman to that team. I know the Spurs don't run the traditional NBA style offense, but I think he would be a great pairing next to Aldridge. And then as Aldridge is phased out, you have someone who is dynamic in the low post.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if I'm really Ricky's talking. I can't hear him, so this is going great. The
he ain't
box
talking.
is lighting up green.
He's just shaking his face.
The box is lighting up green. So I'm just making
talk for a sec, Ricky, so he can confirm that he
can talk.
Because it is lighting up green. So
my mic is it's so sensitive that like
that's fine. But I'm losing Dave, so I just want to make sure I'm not losing Ricky. But no, I agree with the fact that no player. I mean, we went through the roster while you were down. No player is really just truly set here outside of DeJounte Murray. He's the only guy that I think is locked up for the long term. So I don't think positionally they are locked into, since you have X, you cannot take X player. They're really free to, if they get the number one overall pick, to take Wiseman, to take Ball, to take Edwards. It's just who do you think is going to fit more and who do you think has the higher potential? And I think at least if I'm building out a team that way, I want a guard, and I want LaMelo Ball because we consistently talk about not having a big be your best player and being able to win a championship, and that's what the Spurs are all about. So that's why I think that LaMelo Ball is the best pick there.
And if they're truly resetting as a franchise, I agree. Like LaMelo Ball would be my pick to start a franchise. I think by far he's the guy.
Are we going to see a reset soon? Or, I mean, what's the Spurs' future looking like in your guys' mind, Ricky or Dave? You can take it. But what's the future of this team? I mean, right now they're picking 11. This is the first time they're picking the lottery since 1997. What's their future looking like?
Ricky, I'll let you take this. I gotta switch over to Wi-Fi.
For me, I'm thinking I hate giving the answer of like I don't know, but like it all depends on how. I don't know how long Pop is going to be there. And I agree, if it's me pulling the strings, then yes, I'm taking LaMelo Ball because I love LaMelo Ball. I think he can, for most franchises, number one, he's your choice. The question that I have, though, is if the Spurs are going to be status quo as usual, I don't think LaMelo Ball is going to be in their plans. And I would find it funny if they take James Wiseman, who a big like the Admiral, a big like Duncan Robinson, they take another big, let's say 1, 2, or 3, they take James Wiseman, and then boom, they're off to the races again because that's all they really needed was their big down low. They could be the face of their franchise. So like for me, the Spurs are the biggest enigma when it comes to what their future holds in my mind, because I don't know how much longer Pop has as their coach.
Yeah, I'm in the same mind path, man. It's if they want to go and buy into the youth movement, I think this is the perfect opportunity to do it. Mm-hmm. If they landed the number one overall pick, you take LaMelo Ball. You've got LaMelo Ball, DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson was a draft pick, Luka, not that Luka, obviously, and Lonnie Walker. Like, that is a ton of young talent, and I absolutely would love to see them out there. You see, like, I love LaMarcus Aldridge still. He's never gets credit for how good he is. He's one of the most dominant mid-range bigs in the NBA. Year in, year out, he's just captain consistency down there. But, like, you've got a movable piece, and, if DeRozan resigns, if not, whatever you decide to do there. But, like, this is easily the chance you have to start this franchise over, play the young kids, lose again this next year, and land, like, a top pick. If you're lucky, you can land one of the uber talented kids next year, and then stack this team for the future.
And I mean, the other thing too, I know this doesn't play into it, but it's just a funny coincidence, is like Don Nelson earlier this week was saying that he hopes Popovich breaks his coaching record, where Nelson has 1,335 career wins. Popovich right now is at 1,273. So, I mean, yeah, that's only 63 games, but I don't think the Spurs are going to get that in one season. So what? If Popovich is sitting there going, hey, it's in range, I at least want to do that. That's 2-3 more years at least of Popovich before he might call it quits. I know that he's also said that he wants to coach the Olympic team in 2021, which why would he give up coaching the Spurs if he's still going to coach the Olympic team? So I would say at least 2 to 3 more years of Pop before we're talking about the Spurs getting a new head coach. And that's why I think they would go away from LaMelo Ball.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that end all be all, I'm not really worried about what Pop's future is. I'm worried about the team's future is, and I think that means LaMelo Ball is probably the best pick for picking number 1 overall. All right, let's get out of here just because this isn't likely what they're going to be doing because they don't have that good of odds to be the number 1 overall pick. 9.4%
Anything's possible
to be in the top 4, 2% chance to be in the to be number 1 overall. So we're talking about 2% chance here. We're spending like 20 minutes on it. Let's talk about that 11 spot then. All right, so looking at this way the team's built out, they got DeRozan likely if he opts into his player option. They got LaMarcus Aldridge. If they're at 11, is there a guy that you'd be salivating for them to pick, Dave?
I kind of want them to, and I know I'm going to get shit for it. I would be super happy if they took a Jaden McDaniels here. I think he's someone who is...
Why is that?
He's a difference maker. He's got so much upside, and I think he would be an amazing fit on the wing for this team. There's questions as far as is he a 3, is he a 4, is he a 5 due to his size. But I think he would be an excellent addition, incredible upside, just a ball handling wing who has a good shot. He has the potential to play great defense. I'm swinging for a home run with this hit if I'm them. I think you could take the nice pieces. If you think you can get another Danny Green or Kawhi, moldable defensive wing out there. We've talked about Devin Vassell 17,000 times this episode. So feel free to listen to any of those. He's a great, just start with someone who is a excellent perimeter player, great help defender, active hands, everything you want in a smart, young, talented player. But you did take Keldon Johnson last year, who I know there was a lot of upside in that pick because he's someone who thrived playing in the G. He got his minutes in there. He earned it. He looked good. I think there's a lot of positivity that came out from the coaches, from some of the trainers on that team about Keldon. So I think he might be their, kind of guy at the 2-3 in the future, kind of backing up Lonnie Walker, who looked explosive out there. So I'm looking for a home run swing here. I think that in my mind, I still have Jaden McDaniels extremely high compared to a lot of people's boards, but I would love to see his upside and his fit on this team going forward.
Well, and I think Ricky, obviously he's, Dave likes the Jalen McDaniels upside on this team going forward. Is there a guy that you like for this Spurs team?
I do, and this is one where his draft position is different than his big board position. He's been rising on big boards, but mock drafts still have him closer to 17 to 20 than top 10. But I think he can fit, and in this situation, I don't know if you play him at the 5 or if you move LaMarcus over to the 5, but I think Pokusevski could be a guy that fits with this team very well.
He pulled the trigger.
Yeah, like a 7-footer who can shoot from the outside, who can find open people, who can play with the ball down low. This is a guy that I think Popovich will salivate over. And is 11 a little bit too high for him? If you look at big boards, no. But if you look at mock drafts, yeah. This would be a guy that if I'm the Spurs and I think he's the guy, I wouldn't be afraid to take him at 11 because because you're sitting at 11, you're probably going to be in, for Dave, wing heaven, where you've got Vassell, you've got Sadiq Bey. Hell, even like Josh Green is a guy that the more, like, at first I was like, oh, I'm down on him. But the more I look into him, he's a guy that if you want defense on the wing, with being a 6'6", 206-pound player, like, he can play defense against 2 or 3s in my mind. He's also athletic, which plays into that. So, like, he could even be a pick for the Spurs if they want to add defense on the outside. But, like, Pokusevski, I think, could be someone that's overall something that fits into what Popovich wants to do and fit with this team.
Yeah,
Dave
and I
Smith's
think
going crazy over there.
Yeah, that wasn't even me. That's just
okay.
There's issues going on right now.
and Pokusevski, I mean, that's a very Pokusevski, a pretty big reach there. But hey, I like the idea. And even then, if you're looking at the Tankathon mock draft, Pokusevski is less of a reach than Jaden McDaniels.
Exactly.
As Pokusevski is 17, and McDaniels is at 18. I think the guy that I think would really fit well there. And I know I'm going back to it again, and it's the guy that I bring up every fucking time, but it's Patrick Williams. Just because this team is pretty clean, right? You don't need this guy to step in and play right away. They got guys that, this team right now this team isn't bad if they roll out with DeRozan, Aldridge, Gay, Patty Mills, Trey Lyles, Lonnie Walker, Samanich, Murray, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, Chimezie Metu. They'll still have the ability to bring back guys as well. They'll add free agents. Like, I don't think there's a need to fill out any certain roster spot in the starting lineup. I think they're fine where they're at right now. You could have Trey Lyles play the 4. You can have LaMarcus at the 5. You could have DeRozan at the 2. You could have Gay at the 3, and you could have Patty Mills or Derek White or DeJounte Murray at the 1, like whatever. They're not in a pressing need to go out and get a guy. And if you're looking for a guy that you could possibly mold into, I think Patrick Williams could be at 6'8", 18.7 years old when the draft happens. Good frame, great defender. I think he's got the scoring ability to pop off. And I think the biggest thing too is you look at the place he's coming from at Florida State, and it's all about blending personality. It's all about coming together as a team, and that's exactly what the Spurs team is about. No egos on these teams, and then I don't think Patrick Williams has that. And the guy that we keep comparing him to is Kawhi Leonard, and I think that could be a name that they could take a shot at. But really, in that range, I don't know if I like any player because even then, Patrick Williams might be a little bit of a stretch there at 11 if we're looking at it. And I don't know if I love any guy. I think the only guy that I love that is like a for sure consensus top 10 on this team would probably be Onyeka Okongwu or Isaac Okoro, because I don't know if the other guys really fit personality-wise. And we talked about that a little bit earlier with LaMelo Ball and the idea of them rebuilding. Like, it's a little bit of a stretch to even imagine Pop coaching LeVar Ball's son, someone who is so outspoken and brazen, and LaMelo Ball, who left his team crazily, out of nowhere in Australia, and then ended up buying it. Like, that doesn't seem like a Pop move, right? So I do wonder, like, what's the remark?
The way you say it makes him sound like crazy. It's like he did a good thing for a team that was in financial trouble. He did. It was a sign of respect and wanting to see them continue to be a team in the league.
You're right.
And continue to make sure the players that he played with are getting paid. So I'm like, the way you kind of explained it, I'm like, okay, that seems like in the wrong light. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't, like, that just seems something that it's very bold, right? It's not a safe move. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Him leaving his team out of nowhere in Australia, that's something that doesn't seem like a team player. And then going out and literally spending all your money to buy the team, like, that doesn't seem like something that is within, like, we are the Spurs, right?
It's
like,
really
I'm gonna go own
money.
a team.
His family's rich.
No, it's awesome. It's a good move. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't scream Spurs here. But I don't know if any of these guys are really screaming Spurs. I mean, maybe Denny. Denny seems like it would be a good fit as well. Yeah,
because he's European, and why not? I get that. Like, but again, Denny's going to be gone top 5. So, like, unless they get super lucky in the lottery.
I mean, they got a chance, a 9.2% chance to be in the top 4, 9.4% chance to be in the top 4. So if they're in the top 4, they get that 9.4 hits out. I think Denny's definitely a possibility there.
Absolutely agree. Is there anybody kind of like a little bit later who you could see them reaching on, who might be kind of a Spurs guy then, like in that 20 through 30 range, who you think like they see that something special in him, and they're like, we're gonna take him here. People might scratch their heads, but like it's the guy we really want.
I mean, for me, that's Pokusevski.
Yeah,
Like it's either
I like the idea. Ricky.
It's either Pokusevski or it's Josh Green. Those are the two reaches. I know right now I'm looking at Tankathon. They have Josh Green at 15, so 15 to 14. How much of a reach is that? But like Pokusevski being a guy that, big, who can pass, shoot, and kind of contribute to your ball movement, or a Josh Green where it's like, hey, we're drafting you basically on your defense against 2s and 3s.
Sean, there's a guy who I think we've talked about a couple times way back in Precious Achua. Do you think that he's someone who they might have some intrigue in as someone who's very moldable into kind of whatever they're really looking for?
I'm trying to figure out like that guy that you're talking about, like, and I don't know if I hate the Precious name, just because he does seem limited offensively, but he's got a high motor, he's got very great athleticism, he can rebound, he can play defense, he can score as well, driving to the bucket, but and it's really, do they think they can unlock him and unlock that athleticism and then turning into, a guy that could be a game changer at every facet offensively? I think that's probably the best name that you could throw out in the scenario you suggested, but I don't know if I love that name, but I guess that would make it a Spurs pick, right? Going completely off the wall and being like, all right, we think Precious Achua, the guy that I think is, similar to Jordan Hill, all right, we're going to turn this guy into our star. Like, that's something that is off the wall, and I think is a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. I don't hate the name, though. I just don't know if I like the pick.
Yeah, I mean,
especially him at 11, I think that's a bit of a reach.
If you're swinging for upside still in the draft, like, do you see a star or a potential star guy available to them? Would they take a shot at like a Tyrese Maxey, even though they already have a couple of 2 guards?
Yeah, Maxey would be bringing something a little bit different to them because obviously Murray is more of a defender. I know he wants to develop his game more outside of that. And you do have Lonnie Walker too. Yeah, Lonnie Walker, who is more of that athletic too, kind of in that Maxey realm, but Walker's a little bit bigger. I think the guy that I think maybe the NBA is turning into a skill league. Obviously athleticism is obviously going to end up winning if both guys are the same skill, but I do think Leandro Bolmaro is an interesting name as well. 19.6, pretty good passer. Has been working on his shooting. Fairly smart defender as well. He's pretty good at jumping passing lanes and putting himself in good positions defensively.
Yeah,
I do like his handles as well.
Barcelona, right?
Yeah, FC Barcelona, Football Club Barcelona. I do think that he could be an interesting name, but he's a guy that every place that I'm seeing it's mainly 20s as the earliest he's going, so that might be too much of a reach there. Also, I'm a little bit iffy because I just keep throwing out international players to them.
It's a stereotype for a reason, though.
I do really like him. I do really like him as a player. Yeah.
No, interesting stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I got anything else on the Spurs. You guys got anything?
No. I feel like their backcourt's so loaded. It feels like they need a wing or a big. That's the same story for a lot of these teams right now, and I just don't. But like you said, are they in compete mode? Are they going to take the step to rebuild or retool? Like, it's just so hard to tell what Pop's direction will be going into this next season. If he is going for that win record, which I'll be honest, like, Pop doesn't seem like the guy who would publicly say anything about that.
Yeah, but 2 seasons he'll have whatever. But like what they had 27 this year, but like if you're making the playoffs, you're at like 32 to 40. So like if they're a playoff team or even not, years, like 2 to 3 years, he'll just have it just by years that he's been in the league.
2 more years of Pop, it's hard to imagine that he would leave them on a rebuild, So I feel like he's trying to compete. I feel like they're going to go get like a smart player, a Vassell, a Sadiq Bey,
not Marcus
kind of a wing. Maybe Marcus. If Marcus Smart was available,
because you said smart player, Marcus Smart.
Yeah, it just feels like that's the move that Pop is going to do. He's going to try to continue to get the role players to accentuate what they have in LaMarcus Aldridge, and if DeMar DeRozan takes that player option, there they go. You know?
Yeah. It's a tough team. It's a tough team to figure out. Like
Yeah.
I think this is a team that when we look back at this, we're gonna get every name wrong.
Yeah.
And they're gonna go like Sadiq Bey.
And this
Or
is
they'll be
one.
the team that picks Tyler Bey for Ricky. For Ricky's sake, they'll go 11 and pick Tyler Bey.
And this is the one that I can't remember the commenter's name, but for the last couple weeks we've been having a comment: "Do the Spurs, do the Spurs." Here you go. We did the Spurs.
Yep.
Yeah, we did do the Spurs. So congratulations. I don't know if we did them justice, but we did do the Spurs. Let us know what you think down in the comments below about the Spurs. I know we got our guy. He always changes his name, but I think he's now on Twitter, Denny of Dia Fan Club. So he's our big Spurs fan. So shout out to him. We appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you guys listening. Obviously, let us know what you think. I don't think I asked for any Suns feedback. We usually have a ton of Suns fans, so they're just going to give it to us anyways. Spurs fans, let us know what you think. What type of player, if they're picking at number 1 overall, who should they be taking? If they're picking the top 4, is there another guy outside of that number 1 overall? If they're at 11, who's the type of guy that they playing? Would they go outside of the box, or do they stick with what's given to them and take like a Cole Anthony? Let us know down in the comments below. Love hearing your feedback. But that's going to do it for the Fast Break Podcast. I'm Sean Anderson. Alongside me was Dave Oster and Ricky Widmer. Again, check out patreon.com/mostofapodcast if you love this content and you want to help support us. We do appreciate it. And if you do want Bulls coverage, we're going to be doing that on Superfans. So definitely check that out if you want some reaction to the Bulls hiring Arturas Karnisovas as their GM. But that's going to do it for Ricky Widmer, for Dave Oster. I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.